Hello all of you beautiful people, Jules here for Whatculture.com, and as we all know, filmmaking sure is hard, and the decisions that go into creating a final released movie are basically innumerable. A director has to balance so many interests when finishing their edit, so much so that it often results in some actors' contributions being left on the cutting room floor. Now, virtually every actor who has ever made it big in Hollywood has suffered through the indignity of being cut out of a movie at least once, especially in their earlier career. But sometimes they arrive to the premiere and only found out then that their scenes were cut. Ouch. So let's take a look at them. As I'm Jules, this is Whatculture.com, and these are 10 actors who didn't know they'd been cut. Number 10. Adrien Brody, The Thin Red Line. In surely what is one of the most infamous instances of an actor having their role revised in post-production, Adrien Brody was hired to play protagonist Corporal Jeffrey Fife in Terrence Malick's war epic The Thin Red Line. Brody does indeed appear in the final film, though his part is better described as an extended cameo, amounting to little more than a few lines of dialogue. This is despite Brody spending roughly 6 months filming a lead actor's role, which Malick ultimately decided to cut the overwhelming majority of during the film's laboured editing process. But Malick's worst sin? Well, he never told Brody, and so when the actor attended the film's premiere, he finally discovered the truth, that he was only a small fixture due to Malick's shifting focus to the larger ensemble. Brody said this of the experience: "I gave everything to it, and then to not receive everything, in terms of witnessing my own work, it was extremely unpleasant because I'd already begun the press for a film that I wasn't really in." Brody clearly resents the experience, and who can blame him? He thought that this was going to be his big Hollywood break, and he instead had to wait another 4 years until The Pianist made him the youngest Best Actor Oscar winner in history. Number 9. Terry Crews, Terminator Salvation. As forgettable as Terminator Salvation is, keen-eyed viewers might notice a blink-and-you'll-miss-it appearance from Terry Crews as a fallen soldier in John Connor's army near the start of the film. As it turns out, Crews originally had an actual living, breathing role which was cut during the editing process. Crews played Jericho, a resistance soldier who takes part in an opening Skynet raid at the cost of his life. Crews had stated that the producers had never informed him that his part was being cut, and so he had to discover the truth himself at the film's premiere. Crews has expressed bitterness about this in the past, particularly that because a single shot of his corpse was left in the film, and he was asked by many why he was in the movie at all. More recently, Crews seems to have seen the funny side of it though, jokingly saying that the role made him the losingest badass in Hollywood. Number 8. Robert Pattinson, Vanity Fair. The 2004 historical drama Vanity Fair originally cast Robert Pattinson as the older version of Roddy Crawley the Younger, the son of Reese Witherspoon's protagonist, but his role ended up being cut from the final film. Given that this was Pattinson's first major movie gig and he wasn't yet a known quantity, seemingly nobody thought to inform him that his part got the chop, and so when he attended a screening of the film, he was mystified to find his role missing. He said, "I'm sitting there going, really? Nobody had told me that I'd been cut out." Pattinson's scenes did later appear on the DVD version, but ultimately being cut out might have been the best thing to ever happen to him, as the casting director felt so bad about it that he invited Pattinson to audition for Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, and we all knew what happened there. Number 7. Peter Serafinowicz, Solo: A Star Wars Story. Now, voice roles might not be as time or effort consuming as live action ones for the most part, but that doesn't mean that voice actors shouldn't be treated with basic respect. Peter Serafinowicz, who voiced Darth Maul in Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace, was asked to reprise the role for Solo: A Star Wars Story. And though Serafinowicz agreed, it was decided in post-production that his voice didn't match up with the one used in the various Star Wars animated series. As a result, Serafinowicz was replaced by the person who had voiced Maul across the animated series, and said this of Serafinowicz's performance: "I don't want to say that Serafinowicz was doing bad, it just didn't sound recognizable as the character from The Phantom Menace nor the character from Clone Wars. It was a totally different thing. They needed people to recognize the voice, so there it is." The decision is fair enough, except nobody bothered to tell Serafinowicz, who wasn't invited to the film's premiere and only found out a few days later when he received a production email informing him of the decision. Yikes. Number 6. Viggo Mortensen, The Purple Rose of Cairo. The prospect of cutting an actor of Viggo Mortensen's caliber out of any movie just seems silly these days, but back in 1985, the famous scissor-happy Woody Allen thought nothing of it. Mortensen found himself a small role in Allen's Oscar-nominated The Purple Rose of Cairo, playing a man with a brief speaking part in the movie's Hollywood party scene. Despite not being given a script, Mortensen got to set and improvise some dialogue during filming that got a laugh from Allen, leaving the actor confident that he'd done a good job. But sadly, he had a nasty surprise when he went to see the movie with his family. Of course, the movie comes out next fall or whatever, and I told my family Friday. And I'm not in it. I'm not in the credits, nothing. Mortensen at least laughed about it, while adding that he's been cut from films a couple times over the course of his career. Those days are surely behind him now, though. Number 5. James Caan, The Godfather. If you're thinking that James Caan's role as Sonny Corleone wasn't cut from The Godfather, you'd of course be absolutely right, but Caan's role in the final edit of the movie was nevertheless a rude awakening for the actor. At the premiere, Caan discovered that his part had been massively downsized during the editing process, estimating that around 45 minutes of Sonny's character work, including his reaction to his father's shooting, was cut out completely. An incensed Caan decided to confront producer Robert Evans, reportedly shouting at him at the premiere, "Hey, you cut my whole f***ing part out." While Caan's frustration is understandable if the scenes were that good, the final runtime was already 177 minutes, so it may have simply been a utilitarian choice that some of Caan's material had to hit the cutting room floor. It certainly didn't do the Best Picture Oscar-winning masterpiece any harm, nor Caan, who received a well-deserved Best Supporting Actor nomination for his work. Number 4. Jack Whitehall, Frozen. Jack Whitehall is certainly enjoying a career high right now, but back in 2013, he was still a rising British comedian with not a lot of clout at all in Hollywood, and so he was thrilled to be cast as the voice of Gothie the Troll in Disney's Frozen, only to attend the premiere and find that the bulk of his role had been cut and he didn't even receive a credit. Though in Whitehall's stand-up he claims that his entire voiceover role was deleted, this was an exaggeration, presumably for comedic effect. In actual fact, 3 of his lines made it into the final film, though it's reasonable to assume that he was expecting far more of his work to end up in the movie. All the same, it left Whitehall red-faced when he went to the film's premiere and saw his role, what little of it remained that is, on the big screen. Whitehall has spoken about the experience numerous times over the years, even referring to watching the film, which he loves, as an icy dagger to the heart, because of how his own part turned out. Number 3. Sue Casey, American Beauty. Sue Casey was an actress best known for appearing as a prominent extra in more than 85 major films and TV shows between 1945 and 2002, including Rear Window, Breakfast at Tiffany's, Paint Your Wagon, and even 2 Best Picture Oscar winners, An American in Paris and American Beauty. Well, sort of in the latter case. You see, Casey was cast in Sam Mendes's iconic 1999 drama as a woman who ambitious estate agent Carol Burnham desperately tries to sell a dilapidated house to. According to Casey, she filmed a few scenes with Annette Bening, only to discover to her horror at the premiere that, apart from a brief shot of her walking into the house, she was cut entirely from the movie. She said, "Nobody told me. I brought my son to the premiere and felt so foolish when I realized they excised our scene." But the late Casey, a veteran of the industry, was at least pragmatic enough to appreciate the realities of the filmmaking process, saying at the end of things, that's show business. Number 2. Sean Bean, The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Despite his character Boromir dying at the end of the first Lord of the Rings film, Sean Bean was asked by director Peter Jackson to return to New Zealand to shoot a lengthy flashback sequence for the sequel, The Two Towers. However, when Bean watched the film at the premiere, he discovered that his scenes had been cut from the theatrical release without Jackson or any of the producers telling him so beforehand. Jackson reportedly felt absolutely terrible at cutting Bean's part after he'd gone to the effort of flying him from England to New Zealand to film it, though at least restored it to its full glory in the extended edition on home video, which is far and away the definitive version of the film in every sense. These weren't the only feathers that Jackson ruffled with his brutal cuts though. After Christopher Lee learned that his pivotal scenes as Saruman had been cut from the third film, The Return of the King, he decided to boycott the premiere. And number 1, Sam Benjamin, Justice League. Up-and-coming British actor Sam Benjamin snagged by far the most exciting and high-profile role of his career when he landed a part in Zack Snyder's original version of Justice League. Though there have been many rumors over the years that Benjamin was hired to play Green Lantern, we know now that he spent a week shooting a part as a military officer who appears in Star Labs and gets caught in the middle of the League's battle against the resurrected Superman. However, on the day of the film's release, more than a year after shooting wrapped, Benjamin learned from screening reports that his role had been cut amid the film's hectic post-production process, with nobody in the Warner Brothers camp informing him of this fact. By Benjamin's estimation, he appeared as a background character in 20 to 30 minutes of the movie, which Joss Whedon decided to remove when he took over the troubled project. There was a happy ending of sorts though. Benjamin's role was restored for the Snyder Cut, confirming beyond any doubt that no, he never was going to play Green Lantern. It was a total background part, but at least Benjamin finally got his role and, perhaps most importantly, his credit restored.